Do not let the title of this video fool you. I like this game, but I do not love it like I do the first two Mega Man X games on the SNES. So badly have I tried to get into X3 before, and it just ends up being a frustrating experience for me. That being said, most of this frustration does come from the beginning of the game, which is a common complaint that many have, so I guess put me in that same boat. However, once you get going a little bit, X3 becomes really fun and has some amazing mechanics. I have a lot of footage of me dying in my first two stages and clearly being frustrated while grinding to fill my sub-tanks. You'll see some of that in this video for sure, but I'll spare you a lot of the footage. However, a lot of the inspiration for this video and its title come from the soundtrack. This time we are going to discuss the music first and in much greater detail. I know there are versions of this game on multiple consoles, but we will only be looking at the SNES version, mainly because
there's nothing like a SNES.
Naturally, we will be delving into my brief personal experiences with this game and also analyzing the artwork. There is much to discuss regarding the soundtrack and art style for Mega Man X3 since this is our first Super Nintendo game on the channel. Now, why am I doing X3 before X or X2? Well, why did I do Mega Man 5 before Mega Man 2? Well, because I feel like it, that's why. Also, I'll note that I'll be providing rankings out of 5 for the categories of soundtrack, gameplay, and artwork. Since I didn't do those rankings for my reviews of Mega Man 5 and 2, I will also add those to the end of this video as well, just to have all my bases covered. But anyway, let's get into some Mega Man X3. If you have ever driven across the country on I-40 before, perhaps you'll agree with the following analogy. This music sounds like the exact thing I would want playing on the drive between Oklahoma City and Albuquerque, New Mexico. A large, open, and vast swath of the country where the most populated area that you go through in between is the small city of Amarillo, Texas. This trip is long and it needs some downtrodden but motivating music to accompany it, and that is how it feels to play and listen to Mega Man X3. When I make the assertion that this game is depressing, I'm mainly thinking about how the soundtrack in this game has a much grittier industrial feeling than the first two X games. Just compare the Blizzard Buffalo theme to that of Chill Penguin. Both stages are winter themed, but the songs could not be more different. Chill Penguin is usually the first full stage that you pick on the first game because you get the dash. The theme is fast and excited to introduce you to the world of Mega Man X. Blizzard Buffalo's theme is truly the definition of trudging through a big snowstorm. It is genuinely very sad sounding and makes the world around you seem hopeless. All that childlike excitement from the first game is gone. It's time to get serious. Both stages are where many people start in these games, though for X3 it's not as clear and obvious who to start with, but for the typical weakness run a lot of people do start with Blizzard Buffalo. I chose him second, and we'll get into that later. Comparing each stage select theme is worthwhile as well. The first one sounds like something you would hear in an arcade. The second one has a cool edginess to it. The third one though really sounds like the world is in trouble because of these Mavericks. I'm especially talking about the part where it slows down at the end of the loop. Similarly, the intro themes from X2 and X3 can be compared to show the excitement of X2 versus the seriousness of X3. The first game has a very energetic, youthful feeling to it, like it's the young child of the series. Then the second game takes everything the first game did and just puts it in a maximum overdrive. The soundtrack in X2 is so fast and so insane. The drums are so quick and pungent and it sounds like somebody hitting a speed bag over and over and over again. In particular, listen to this part in Magna Centipede's stage. It always made me so hype as a kid. I am a high energy guy, so I appreciate the X2 soundtrack the most. I probably would consider X2 to be my favorite of the original trilogy, and I can delve more into my love for that game at a later time, but for now we're focusing on X3. X3, on the other hand, takes the soundtrack and slows it way down, especially compared to X2, making it feel like we are trudging through this game. The game would be considered the jaded adult of the family in the SNES trio. The shift in tempo is not necessarily a bad thing by any means. Think about how many songs outside of game soundtracks you like that are sadder or more emotional. Not everything needs to be wicked fast, power metal style like X2, but I just like that one the most. The only theme that particularly breaks this depressing mold for X3 is the Gravity Beetle theme, which is a lot more upbeat and also happens to be my favorite of the Maverick themes. The title indicating that this game is depressing is not necessarily a bad thing. However, I do have to be in the right mood for this game, whereas the others I can pick up a little easier. It's also worth mentioning that perhaps I am just not as seasoned with this game as I am with the other two because I did play it much less. If I practice, perhaps I could move as fast as I do in X or X2, though the movement does feel a lot slower in X3. I somewhat doubt that I would be able to move faster in X3 because it just feels like this game commands a slower pace. Again, not necessarily anything wrong with that. The soundtrack guides this slower pace for sure because the game is slower and the soundtrack is slower and more serious and has a lot more weight to it. And with that, the soundtrack actually complements the game extremely well. Both Mega Man X3 and X, however, have a huge shift in mood when you enter their final stages. As we've discussed, X3's themes are mostly slower and heavy feeling, whereas X has a lot of energetic and more playful themes. However, when you enter the first Sigma stage in X, the mood shifts immensely. I will note that the Sigma Stage 1 theme from X1 may be my favorite theme in the entire Mega Man series. It truly lets you know that you've gone through all the fun stuff and all the lighter stuff, and now you are really on a mission to go save the world. X3, however, has a lighter theme in the first of the Doppler stages. It's pretty upbeat, especially compared to some of the other Maverick themes. Therefore, X and X3 have opposite mood shifts in their final stages. For X3, this theme is telling you that you have accomplished something by defeating all the Mavericks. However, the job is not fully finished yet, but you're on your way to complete it, and this should be a motivating, upbeat theme for you. Overall, the soundtrack for X3 took a different direction than the series went with X or X2. I welcome these themes, and they have grown on me over time. Ultimately, I have more experience listening to the soundtrack than I do actually playing the game, but I do have a few memories with the game itself, which we'll get into next. My first memorable experiences seeing the sequels to Mega Man X were when Nintendo Capri Sun did his Let's Plays of those games. Don't forget, I've been on the internet for a long time watching video game videos. I was a huge fan of Nintendo Capri Sun when I was younger. I still love his channel. I rewatched those videos in preparation for this one actually, and I have some distinct memories of thinking that these games looked awesome. A huge part of my inspiration to get a lot of the Mega Man games back in the day were because of his videos. Believe it or not, I actually did own this cartridge at one point, despite the price that it commands now. I owned all 4 Mega Man games for the SNES, not including that ridiculous soccer game. X3 and Mega Man 7 used to not be worth as much as they are now. Sure, they were still pretty pricey, but by the time I was buying these games as a kid, the Mega Man series has cemented itself as my go-to classic game, so I didn't mind paying a little more for them. Even if 100% of my birthday and Christmas money was spent on the combination of X2, X3, and Mega Man 7, I considered that a good year for my collection. Ultimately, when I sold off my original collection, I did part ways with the pricier titles in the Mega Man series. I figured that the Legacy collections would just hold me over, and the footage that you're seeing, of course, is recorded off the Legacy collection. I think that's pretty obvious. Although I totally understand why I made this decision, I do hope to own these games again someday, because I really do love having the real cartridges, and you guys know that from the Mega Man 5 video and any of my older stuff as well. Of course, I never had the box or manual for any of these games. That was even ridiculous back then. But nowadays, if you want a complete copy of X3, you're gonna need to take out a personal loan. Despite owning this game, I played it significantly less than X or X2. I think the steep difficulty curve to get through the beginning just put me off from this game compared to the first two. Even as a full-grown adult now, it is a bit off-putting. I remember doing a near-complete run of this game on the Legacy Collection on PS4, but never finished it because of one of the later bosses was insanely frustrating and I just gave up. when I was playing through this game again, later I figured out that that boss was Sigma's first form, and I may or may not have ever beaten Sigma's first form and made it to Kaiser, but back then I know I could not finish this game and it was very, very frustrating for me. So to prepare for this video, I was determined to finally finish this game for the first time. Due to my limited experience with the game, I will say that this video felt like I had to do a little more research than for Mega Man 5 or 2, since I had more personal experience with those titles. I had a fun time checking out Jay's Reviews guide for X3, which really helped me get through it efficiently. I know he has done more in-depth videos about X3 as well, but I intentionally do not watch this kind of video when writing scripts so that they do not influence my own opinions too much. That being said, I will definitely be checking out his review after uploading this video. Despite the help from many guides, you still have to complete the stages yourself, and that's where some of the frustration definitely sets in with this one. For example, I really struggled with some of these projectile shooting enemies in Tunnel Rhino's stage. He was the first one I picked. They are placed in such an annoying spot right here before the boss. If you die, you have to go back pretty far, and since I did Tunnel Rhino first, I did not have a sub-tank or the frost shield yet. Thankfully, when you do get the frost shield, it is very helpful with grinding sub-tanks. I guess a point I could make for my I like Mega Man Classic more argument is that I loathe filling up my sub-tanks in the X games. Sure, it's cool that you keep them forever unlike the E-tanks, but man does this grinding become a chore even with the frost shield equipped. One of the best abilities in this game is the ability to dash upwards. This upgrade feels like the natural progression of the series, and honestly I get spoiled in this game with it. When I go back to X after playing X3, I'm always missing the ability to dash in the air. X3 took the air dash from X2 and made it even cooler. I was always a fan of the way Mega Man is animated in the vertical dash as well. As I got further in the game, I noticed myself playing a little faster as my confidence went up. This confidence also comes with the ability to be more reckless since I gained more heart pieces. In the first two games, you can be pretty reckless off the bat, but here it does take a little more time to get to that level. Otherwise, you'll just keep getting slapped around for half your life bar at a time in the early stages. I know another common complaint about this game is the amount of backtracking that you have to do, and thanks to the Jay's Review guide, I did not have to do much of that. Sure, you have to beat more of the Mavericks without their weakness this way, but I would rather do that than a lot of backtracking. This boss order makes the backtracking feel closer to the standard set by the first Mega Man X game. My only complaint with this order is that you do Volt Catfish very late. The Triad Thunder is an extremely fun weapon to use, and I wish I would have gotten it earlier. Perhaps next time I'll do Volt Catfish second after Tunnel Rhino, since that is his weakness. Overall, I was pretty proud of my run in the game this time. I got the gold armor, I got the Z-Saber, and I did finally beat Sigma and completed the game. The final boss of this game is outrageously hard, and I legitimately have like 40 minutes of footage of me just losing to it over and over and over again. However, I also remember feeling this way about the first X game when I was a kid, and that I thought Sigma was so hard, but I can take care of him pretty easily now. So perhaps I just need more practice with it. Without the Z-Saber though, I'm not sure how I would have beaten Sigma. Mega Man X3 becomes a very fun game as you get more powerful and look past the initial frustration. As I progressed through the game, I became more and more confident with it and got into that flow state of enjoyment that I feel very easily with X or X2. The only part later on that drove me nuts was trying to beat Sigma. Alright, let's take a look at some artwork. So, the front of the box, I have the American Super Nintendo version here. I actually really love the X3 box art, and I think it's super memorable. They've certainly come a long way since the Mega Man 1 and Mega Man 2 box arts that we've talked about plenty on this channel before. X3's box art is super colorful and super bright, which might be a little misleading that this is a darker game, but all three X games on the Super Nintendo have a phenomenal front cover. Let's take a look at the back of the box now. Mega Man X3, X and Zero battle the Doppler effect. Mega Man X and his trusty partner Zero have a new force to reckon with. Who or what has caused a riot of Mavericks to break out in the experimental utopia known as Doppler Town? Named after the scientist Reploid, Doppler Town was supposed to be a place where humans and Reploids could live in harmony. After discovering a virus that was turning Reploids into Mavericks, Doppler's antivirus was a big success. But Doppler himself became infected with the virus and assembled a team to take out the Maverick Hunter units. The Doppler effect is about to unfold, with Mega Man X and Zero the only cure to the deadly virus. Play as either Mega Man X or Zero, twice as many secret items to locate than any other Mega Man game. 16 megs plus the C4 graphics chip adds to enhanced realism, longer levels, and amazing 3D effects. Totally. Find the helmet part to use the air dash in 3 directions, up, left, and right, or search for the robot armor. 4 different pieces make up an intense attack vehicle for 1 player. So it says find the helmet part to use the air dash in 3 directions. Isn't that the leg part? Anyway, let's take a look at the manual. So I will mention that the Legacy collection that I played this on, they do say that there's like a manual for each game, and I have some footage here. It is boring and drab. It just tells you what every button does. It's digital only, of course. It's a pretty sad fate that the manual has hit at this point, because the actual manual for X3 on the Super Nintendo is phenomenal. So anyways, we're going to start with, of course, a special message from Capcom Entertainment. Thank you for selecting Mega Man X3, the newest adventure in the Mega Man saga. Following the success of Mega Man X2 and Mega Man 7, this continuing series of Mega Man X vs. the Mavericks introduces Zero to once again bring excitement and action to your Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Mega Man X3 features the C4 graphics chip that had such an impact on the graphic effects in Mega Man X2. We at Capcom Entertainment are proud to bring you this thrilling new addition to your video game library. The greatest part about this manual is that it is made to look like a website. I don't know if there was an actual website dedicated to Mega Man X3. I didn't do research on that kind of thing. If you know about that, that would be awesome. But as you can see, the first page we're looking at here is called Reploids on the Web, and it clearly has what at the time was a current web page, but an old web page look to it, and things that look like that they're hyperlinked. It's phenomenal, and it's so 1995, 96 looking, and it's really great. Okay, Reploids on the Web. Welcome to the exciting new Reploids on the website. Produced and created by the Kane Laboratory under supervision by Dr. Kane himself. This website is intended to look into the creation and operation of Reploid robots, present up-to-date info on the latest technology breakthroughs, inform users of handling Reploids to avoid Maverick problems. Just click on the category headings or use the keywords and away you go. So you see we have introduction, famous Reploids, Dr. Kane's research lab, news updates, direct sales, and emergency. This is great. Alright, emergency. Alert, alert. The Doppler research Reploid has inspired a revolt in Doppler Town. The Maverick virus has broken through the Doppler antivirus, and it appears Doppler has caused it. All previous postings here about the antivirus are incorrect. The antivirus is a placebo. Repeat, the antivirus is a placebo. Doppler Town is overrun with Mavericks. Utopia has ended before it even started. Take cover quickly. Virus is spreading rapidly. Kane Laboratory is being infiltrated. Maverick Hunter units on full alert. Mega Man X and Zero mobilize. Grave danger. What a start. We have the ability to play as Zero in this game, which was pretty cool. Here's a page on using Zero. At any point during a stage, you may switch characters you control from Mega Man X to Zero and back to Mega Man X if you want. Once you change back to X from Zero, you cannot use Zero again until you exit the stage. When using Zero, do not let him perish. He has only 1 life and cannot return once he dies. Zero can only collect energy tablets and cannot fight Mavericks. Character profiles, and then we'll get into the Mavericks. So we're going to be talking about our main characters here, and then the bosses, and that'll be it for the manual. So of course, Mega Man X, Reploid leader of the 17th unit, Maverick Hunters. His creation is shrouded in mystery. Nobody knows why he was built and then buried. X is famous among Maverick Hunters for defeating Sigma twice and leading to its ultimate demise. X understands his role and believes deeply in the need to protect Reploids and humans alike, but he has an inner conflict about fighting and violence. Zero. Zero is Mega Man X's best friend and partner. His creation is a mystery as well, yet many rumors and much speculation have arisen. Recently destroyed to protect X, Zero has been revived to continue the aid he has offered X in the past. Once part of the 17th unit Maverick Hunters, Zero now leads a special number 0 class unit. Always cool and calm, Zero takes quick action against the evil forces he hates so much. Now we have some of the villains. Dr. Doppler, a scientist Reploid created to support humans in creation of Reploids. Equipped with a high-performance neurocomputer, Doppler was instrumental in determining the cause of the recent Maverick outbreak. Its antivirus was revolutionary, and once again brought peace to the world. Reprogrammed to build a utopian world called Doppler Town, where humans and Reploids lived in harmony, it grew too quickly and became infected with the same virus it was believed to remedy. Doppler incited a new Maverick outbreak and created chaos in Doppler Town. It changed its computer body into one geared for battle and gathered all the Reploids in its first move in war against humans. And our last villain here we have Vile. Once a top henchman for Sigma, Vile was destroyed at the hands of X and Zero. When Doppler became virus infected, its first move was to revive Vile. When Vile became infected with the same computer virus, it went completely nuts. Doppler could not control Vile. Vile went on a rampage and has become so stricken with hatred for X and Zero, who knows what its intentions are. And lastly, we have our Mavericks. So we have nothing stupid like Boomer Kawanger, which you gotta give X2 and X3 credit. A lot of the Mavericks are pretty cool in these games. So we have Blast Hornet, Blizzard Buffalo, Gravity Beetle, Toxic Seahorse, Volt Catfish, Crush Crawfish, Tunnel Rhino, and Neon Tiger. And that'll do it for the manual. Overall, I think this is a really awesome manual, and I think it's pretty funny looking back at this artwork and that this must have looked so cool back in the day, but it's a little silly now, but really great. Overall, my ranking for the soundtrack of Mega Man X3 would be a 4 out of 5. My ranking for the gameplay of Mega Man X3 would be a 3 out of 5. My ranking for the artwork of Mega Man X3 would be a 5 out of 5. Mega Man X3 is certainly an acquired taste. The game forces you to slow down and be patient to overcome its steep difficulty in the beginning. However, the reward is immense, since the fully upgraded version of X in this game is so fun to use. Unfortunately, the time and effort required to get this far may be off-putting to a lot of people, and I am at fault for thinking this way myself at times. I certainly would put it third when ranking the SNES trilogy, but it is truly a fun game once you learn its ways. The music aids the player in understanding that X3 is not to be happily breezed through like X or X2. X3 is the older, wiser member of the family that has a hard exterior, but becomes delightful once you remove the layers.